morning to all present in the room. I'm sure there must be many preconceived notions about why is Panasonic participating in this particular event when we've had some action-packed presentations from Get It, our friend here, and we just heard about efficiency. So I'm sure, some of you must be thinking now that why is this guy come up and now he's going to bore us with why you should have ACs in your room and all. So today I want to just kind of tell you, before I start off with the presentation, that we are a consumer durable company as well, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about innovations. And which is why if you see PBX and IP solutions is something which has not been talked about in the residential segment so far. So to start off, I would like to quote Gandhiji. He had said, "Be the change you want to see." So if you talk about changes, and if you were to summarize what he basically meant by this quote of his, is that innovate, keep innovating on a daily basis. So like if you were to take a current example, which we all have right here, we have the LH Media who've come out with this wonderful initiative of Green Cities. So this was one talking point, and when we kind of figured that why should we kind of associate with LH for this particular event, what we found as a common point was the innovation. So frankly, while I'll be taking a lateral from the green initiative, so to say, but I would like to ensure that the innovation which is being talked about in the residential products goes to a newer height. So did we think about this overnight? No. There was a lot of research that we kind of did before we came to this conclusion as to how to go about innovating within residential complexes and getting on to the next level of luxury. So to start with, this is, I would like to summarize our learnings so far that we've had in this particular segment. So today, how are we looking at homes? If you're talking about transition. Earlier, there was the construction used to happen and the building used to be handed over to whoever is ready to buy it. But today people are different. They do not want pre-approved architecture and stuff. So even if they were to be kind of approached for a particular building or apartment, they would like to kind of make their own customizations, what we call as flexi homes out here. So that's a paradigm shift. Though obviously you cannot alter the covered area and stuff, but I think you can give away a wall, make the lobby into a room altogether. So that's exactly what flexi homes does here. Secondly, keeping on with the concept of green homes, as per our knowledge, we have about 1 billion square feet of green built-up space is what we would like to believe, out of which a whopping 40% happens to be committed for residential projects. This figure is expected to double in the next 2 years, is what we understand. So a lot of potential in this particular segment, and that's the reason why we thought that we would kind of book our spot here as well. Now, this is about residential projects. We're talking about apartments out here. So today, if you're to see in the scenario, people are buying houses on the outskirts, obviously because of the cost benefit. But what about the ecosystem that needs to develop out there? What about the infrastructure? What about the shopping malls that one needs to kind of go and frequent? So which is why we also now have a concept of modern spaces, wherein the construction guys are thinking of building up townships rather than just a particular building which will kind of house about 20 to 50 people. So this is the concept of townships is what we call as modern spaces here. If you see, there are quite many in Hinjawadi, Pune itself. So you have the Blue Ridge from Pranjape Builders, Keval Nitin Kumar Builders, and Life Republic, Kolte Patil. So this is something which is catching up on at a very good pace. And people want to invest in such kind of townships because out there the infrastructure gets taken care of, in the sense that they really don't need to kind of wait for the development to happen. So while the building is coming up, the infrastructure also is kind of is parallelly being worked upon. So that's on the modern spaces now. And finally, if you were to see the luxury part of it, people have much more disposable income than what they earlier used to have. So obviously there's an amenities galore, which builders want to offer today to any builder who has the money to kind of buy it. So if you were to talk about the normal amenities, which are like the clubs and gyms, these are the hygiene factors today. I mean, like, every buyer would expect that to be there in the building. But how do the builders redefine the luxury for them? And that's exactly where Panasonic fits in. So this is our solution for communication servers for apartments and townships. And from here on, whatever I'll be talking about are already deployed solutions. So we are not kind of creating a blueprint or trying to explain a blueprint to you. These are deployed solutions. So one of the biggest cases that we have is DLF, which is the luxury apartments that you have in and around Delhi and in the Haryana space. So if you see, that's the machine that we have. That's on display outside as well. So I would urge each one of you to kind of, take out time to have a demo as well. Because in the presentation, obviously, it's a little difficult to give the detailed explanation of what we've done. But I've kind of, put an effort to give a synopsis of what has been done out here. So basically, the type of houses that we're talking about, or the apartments that we're talking about, are which has got about 2 living rooms, 2 family lounges, bedrooms with attached bathrooms, about 3 to 5 of them, and about 2 servant rooms and 1 lobby. How have we done the architecture out here? So what we did is we gave 3 CO lines, 2 CO lines. So CO lines are the incoming lines for the telephones that come in. So there are incoming lines and there are outgoing lines, as everybody would know. These are 2 CO incoming lines which we've given for normal telephony, and we've given 1 CO for fax. There is also 2-port voicemail. For recording whatever, when you're unable to attend a particular call or stuff, there is voicemail for you as well. There's 2 extensions in the living room, 1 extension in each bedroom, and you have 1 extension in the bathroom. So this is the level that, residential apartments have kind of, gone up to, as far as keeping communication servers are. Because it's not only if a particular buyer has a disposable income, it's not that he would not like to kind of go into the next level. It is also to do with how is the next level going to benefit him. So today, if you see in the scenario, everybody wants to kind of communication is the key. So which is why we have a particular deployment like this, which is kind of help them go to the next level. So this is on the residential complexes. We've also covered townships. Kalpataru Township, which is about 4 to 5 acres. Now, if you see, in the residential complex, we were talking about a single PBX sofa, or a communication server, as we would call it in Panasonic. Out here, we have about 18 buildings that we've connected through architecture of PBXs. Okay, so it's a distributive architecture that you have. So if you see, building 7 and building 8 had a different requirement altogether. They required 500 extensions, while the rest were okay with 128 extensions. So this is the architecture that we have been able to build and create a particular township out of it. Other than the fact that normally if you were to put up a communication server, it requires a lot of copper cabling, which is very expensive, as most of the developers would know out here. So what we did is we connected the communication servers in a distributed architecture on fiber optic, and within the premises of the building we gave copper. So that the maintenance cost is also low, and we have a cost-effective solution as well. Coming to Srijan Township, which was about 50 acres, which is by far the biggest one which we've handled so far. We're talking about 50 extension into a whopping 100 buildings. So we're talking about 5,000 extensions out there. Okay, so this was something which was networked again on H.23. The common part about both these particular installments is, if you see that redundancy is something which everybody is talking about. Specifically in construction companies or in offices, redundancy is something which is prime because the business is 24/7 today. The scenario doesn't change when it comes to residential complexes as well. So which is why if you see the multiple number of CPUs that we've put, so let's say in a particular sector, certain CPUs goes kaput, then only that particular area would go down. The rest would keep functioning. One another benefit of having these multiple CPUs. Well, the buck doesn't stop here. We've also kind of raised the bar again with our video intercom systems, which is very much new in line nowadays. So obviously it has got a lobby camera, indoor and indoor units. But just to give you a kind of brief view of the architecture as to how it works, So you have the lobby camera in the external unit as an external unit on the sides. It can connect up to about 20 houses, which has the indoor units where the communication happens. So at the top we will have our, if you were to talk about the lobby camera, VL590BX, state-of-the-art looking equipment. It has a numeric keypad, 3-digit LED display, infrared LED, E-lock connection. So E-lock connection is basically the capacity of the indoor unit to kind of give away E-lock connections for at least 2 units, in the sense main door and the back door. So that is one of the key benefits. It's got a solid metal panel, so if you look about the aesthetics, you already have the picture out here. You can make out for yourself. It's a good looking product. In the indoor unit, we have 2 variants. One is the wireless, and the one is obviously the wired one. The wireless system is a class apart from the wired one because of the following. 5.2-inch TFT color monitor. So we are talking about a very clear and crystal display of the person who's kind of rang the bell at your doorstep. The second best part now, and this is a blower. You have a wireless monitor. With a distributor, you can have about 4 of these in the same home. So basically, what does this do? It ensures mobility. You need not always answer the door. You can be in your bedroom, look up onto your TFT monitor, which is the wireless monitor, which is about 1.8-inch screen, okay, and take a decision whether to open the door or not. So in a particular house, you can have 4 of these, okay. So any family member who is at any part of the house at any point of time can access and open the door. Second is one-shot clear picture recording. We have the facility of recording about 100 pictures as far as the wireless one goes. Night vision LED camera, very important. The image doesn't get blurred even if without light. So I mean, these are technologies which are not existing in the market so far. If you were to talk about, maybe post our deployments, this is something which might become hygiene. But Panasonic is the initiator. Panasonic is the front runner in these technologies. Voice changer function, a very important function, given the current threats that women have in today's life. With this particular function, the woman can respond in a manly voice. Whenever she suspects threat, if the person is not somebody she was expecting, or if the person is somebody who's trying to barge in. This is a particular function, this is a killer function which can kind of, ward off the person who's trying to enter by force, or probably is kind of, coming across as a threat to the woman in the house. And obviously, it is connectable to our communication servers. On the right, you have almost the same functions for the wired, a little less maybe, but 3.5-inch TFT color monitor you have there as well. The recording is up to about 30 pictures. Night vision LED camera exists here as well. A large talk button, very important for people who miss. Whenever there's a particular call which comes, there are certain people who rattle off with the buttons, don't know which one to press. So this is one particular fact that we've taken care of out here. And this one gets connected to the PBX as well. So these are basically the 2 major talking points that we had in today's forum, which was again a misnomer from the fact that we just do consumer durables. So that is the point that we're trying to make out here, is that we are much more beyond consumer durables. We are in this innovation space where we've kind of redefined luxury to the next level. And it's not that if you associate with us, we'll kind of keep the premises or keep the support only to the head office or so. We have a strong distribution network, which you could see out here, about 161 partners, who are professionals who are selling this particular solution on a regular basis. So we have a demo stall right outside, and whatever I talked about, we can give you a demo at your convenience. So please do visit the stall. Thanks so much for the patience.